Welcome back to Parent Success Principles. This is Robert McPhee, your host, and this is the online course designed for parents who are committed to their children thriving in today's high pressure, high stress, and fast changing world. We are in Module 1, and this video is designed to take you through a quick exercise that will really help you have the experience in your body of how important this concept of personal responsibility really is. It'll also give you an opportunity to engage in a conversation with your children or with other people in your lives about this topic of personal responsibility, and do it in a way that's not confrontational or in any way kind of attacking to people. It's a simple exercise. It will only take you a couple minutes to do, but we also find that it's extremely powerful for people. So you remember the lesson that we went through on the previous video was about personal responsibility and the formula E plus R equals O, that the events in our lives plus our response to those events is ultimately what determines our outcomes. And we really zeroed in and talked about the fact that our point of power is our response, that the events are going to happen, that this high stress, high pressure, fast changing world that we talk about here is not going to change for us or for our children. And yet the way that we respond to it really can change. The way that we respond to the events in our lives, and by changing the response, we can literally change the outcome. So if there are areas of our lives or areas of our children's lives where we're seeing outcomes that are not ideal, not what we'd like to be seeing, the point to look at is what our response is, and to choose a different response in order to get a different outcome. And it's really a very powerful model of what we're talking about with this entire course, about increasing awareness and making different choices. And it really comes down to this formula right here in terms of how we do that and how important it is that we do that. So again, we're going to do a little exercise here. It's on page 7 in your guidebook. Hopefully you've printed out that PDF document that you should have gotten. And we're going to be on page 7. And there's not much on page 7 because this is an opportunity for you to do some writing. And at the top of page 7, you'll see the words, "I can't." And what I'm going to invite you to do is, for the next couple minutes, to just take the opportunity to write down the things that come to mind to you that you can't do. So don't get too wrapped up in this. Just allow yourself to imagine whatever comes up. For me, it might be something like, I can't play basketball in the NBA, or I can't seem to get my wife to listen to me, or I can't seem to get all the things done on my to-do list every day. I can't run a mile in under 5 minutes. Things like that. So just whatever comes to mind for you, allow yourself to just brainstorm, fill up as much of that top half of the sheet of paper as you can. And what I'm going to invite you to do right now is to pause the video. And as soon as you've done, at least 10, let's say, go ahead and just do 10. And then if there's more, you can do more. But as soon as you're done, as soon as it's complete, I invite you to take at least a couple of minutes and just brainstorm the things that you can't do, ways that you can finish that sentence, "I can't." And then when you're done, go ahead and come back to the video, and there's one more piece of this exercise that we'll do. So go ahead and pause the video, write down the things you can't do, and we'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back. I hope you had the chance to go ahead and write down some of those things that you can't do. If you're listening to the video while you're driving or something like that, I hope you didn't do that exercise, but you'll come back to it when you can, because again, the purpose of this video is not just for you to listen and learn, but to actually put the learning into action, to have the experience in your body. So hopefully you were able to pause the video and write down some of those things that you can't do. And now you'll notice there's a whole second half of this sheet of paper below that black line. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something very similar but slightly different. And what I'm going to have you do is, instead of this time writing the completion of the sentence, "I can't," this time you're going to complete the sentence, "I won't." And you can start by just writing the same things that you already wrote. So for me, if I said, I can't play in the NBA, I would say I won't play in the NBA. If I said, I can't get my wife to listen to me, I would say, I won't get my wife to listen to me. If I said, I can't seem to get to bed at 10 o'clock every night. I always say I won't get to bed every night at 10 o'clock. So just flip those around. And then the other thing you can do, and it just happened to me because I don't think I shared that first piece about going to bed at 10 o'clock. That one just came up as I was thinking, I won't, I won't, I won't. So you can add new ones to the list, but you can start by just changing the I can'ts to I won'ts, and then just adding any that would come up. So same thing, we're going to give you a couple minutes. Go ahead and take the time to do that. I'll pause the video here, give a little gap for you so you can hit pause, and then as soon as you're done, hit play again, and we'll pick it up and debrief this activity a little bit. So go ahead and pause the video. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. And welcome back. So for most people, when we do this in a live workshop environment, for instance, what we hear from people is that there's a profound difference between sentences that start with the words I can't and sentences that start with the words I won't. And for most people, the expression I can't is giving up our power. It's focusing on the events rather than focusing on our response to the events. And it's not taking responsibility for the outcomes that we're getting and the actions that we're taking. When we make the decision to change the I can't to an I won't, for most people, it's a very empowering experience. It's a decision one way or another. It's still okay to say you're not going to do something, but to really own it, to say I'm not going to do this because I choose not to do this, instead of somehow blaming or making excuses or something like that and putting it on someone or something else. So this opportunity with the I can't, I won't exercise is, first of all, to have that experience in your body, to really notice the difference and really, again, feel it in your body. The other opportunity is to start paying attention to your own language now, and also the language of the people around you. Because you'll notice that we are surrounded by people who say the words I can't all the time. And most of the time, it's not something that they truly can't do. It's something that they're choosing not to do. And you know, my example of playing in the NBA might be a truly an I can't. I mean, I'm 56 years old and I don't move quite as well as I used to, and these guys are in pretty good shape. The chances of me making an NBA roster are pretty slim. But something like I can't get my wife to listen to me, or I can't get myself to go to bed by 10 o'clock at night, even though that's my goal, or I can't seem to get everything done on my to-do list, those really aren't can'ts. Those are won'ts. Those are choices that I'm making, priorities that I'm setting, that are not because of any outside influence. It's because of me. It's my response to the events in my life. So there's something very empowering about paying attention and noticing when we say I can't. And I'll share with you really quickly, in my own situation as a parent, as my own children were growing up, this was something that I talked to them about. It was something that I would call them on when they said they can't do something. I would ask them a question, really, you can't do that? And what I found was that in many cases that would come boomeranging right back at me. In my family, there was no way that I was ever able to get away with saying something like, I can't go to your soccer game, or I can't be there for your graduation, or whatever. Because my own children would look at me and give me that kind of cross-eyed, shrug their shoulders look and say, you can't? And they were absolutely right, because if I was making a choice that I had a meeting I needed to be at, so there we go again, the word need is another really great red flag for someone not taking responsibility. I was in fact choosing to go to a meeting rather than being at a soccer game. And sometimes that's the best choice. I know as a father, one of my roles is to be a provider for my family. So sometimes that means I'm going to miss a game. But it's important and really, really valuable in terms of the relationships that I had with my children. And again, as we talked about it from the very beginning, this course is about modeling and mentoring. The example that I was setting for my children, that I wasn't going to make an excuse that I couldn't be there, I was going to own it and say, you know, this is a really important meeting. I'll be there at your next game, whatever it might be, but not to make excuses and not blame outside influences for the fact that I couldn't be at that game. So thank you for playing along with the I can't and I won't exercise. A little bit of homework we're going to give you here First of all, I want to encourage you to share this lesson with your spouse, your children, other people in your life. And also just pay attention. Invite other people to hold you accountable to your language, just as my children would hold me accountable to those I can'ts. And really pay attention in your world to the people that you're surrounded by on a personal level with your family or a professional level at work. And just notice how often people are using words like I can't, or I need to, or I have to, which are all triggers that say we're really not taking personal responsibility for our actions and for our results in our life. One little kind of hint on that, I will tell you, as you pay attention and you invite others to hold you accountable to your language, be really cautious about kind of accusing people or reaching out to people and pointing out this kind of language in a way that makes people wrong. I find that in most cases, if we respond with a question, if at all, to just point out and make people aware of that language rather than kind of pointing a finger and saying that they're making a mistake or doing something wrong in some way, is a much more effective way to approach it. And again, it is really effective to pay attention, notice how often these expressions like I can't, or I need to, or I have to are showing up in our lives. And as we become aware of it, we can make choices to minimize it ourselves, to say I choose to, or I won't, and really own the decisions that we're making, the actions that we're taking, and the results that are showing up in our lives. So that's our interactive and experiential activity for personal responsibility. Thank you very much for participating. Go ahead and do that homework, and we will be revisiting and reconnecting with you in the next lesson. This is Parent Success Principles and Robert McPhee, and we'll catch you on the next video.